Alright, what we're doing is we're doing the back portions of the feet first, sticking out. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a little V-cut. We're going to cut this out at the top. We put our little pattern in there, okay? And we're just going to do a little V-cut there. That's alright. And we're going to cut from the edge here. We're going to cut some of this out. A little bit on this side. And we're going to bring this down and around. Put a stop cut. Sometimes it's safer if you put it on the bench or on the workbench you're working on, or on the table. You can put a little more force to it than holding it up here and doing it. It's whatever you're comfortable with. I had one of the carvers that actually liked to carve like in his lap. If you do that, folks, and that's more comfortable for you than on a table, to do it right on your lap, then put either a leather apron on to help prevent any cuts into your thigh. I heard a horror story where a guy was actually using a gouge, not a knife, but a gouge, and a knife can cause as much damage, and he cut through a main artery, which was not a good thing. And you want to be very cautious. I don't recommend carving like that. Either carve up on a table like I'm doing here is probably one of the safest ways for a beginner to do so. So bear that in mind. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to just chop a little corner off here, just so. Okay? Alright. And then we're going to trim all of this off. You don't want any of that rough stuff from the bandsaw, from the saw mill. Somebody said, why can't you go ahead and just sand it? Well, it will still give you that same little bit of a rough edge there. You should clean it off with a knife. You get a nice shiny cut with that, and it won't stain as much when you go to paint. It has a tendency of getting darker. If I painted this where I cut versus this which I didn't trim off or sliver off clean, you will definitely notice a difference when you go to paint. This will absorb much more paint than this will, and so do not do a carving unless you trim everything off. Like you see all the rough spots here, I'll go back over it and take those all off everywhere. Whether it's on the cheek or on the beard, there's a couple of spots on the beard, I'll clean all that up. But make sure you do that, because if you don't, it's going to look blotchy when you go to paint it. Alright, so just to let you know about that. Now, here we're going to put a little notch down. And start putting where he's leaning back on his legs there. But let's go back to the feet and just finish that up. What you're going to do is put a little brim, like so. Okay, and what you're going to do here is you're going to put a little separation of the feet. And there again, you want to do those corners a little deeper at the top where it goes under. You know, you can always go back and redo your cuts to clean them up and to make them a little deeper. Just add that little extra to your carving to give it a little more depth. There's nothing wrong with doing that. So take your time. If you decide to do that, just take your time when you do it, that's all. Let me do this back here because I'm not being able to see that for some reason. Okay. Alright, so now we have this cut out, this. Now we just have to put a little V cut for the back of the, you can go right to the other side. Come up here and put this little V cut in. Separate the sandals from the feet. Okay, there you go. See? Pretty simple. That's what I mean. Simple sometimes works so well. And a whole lot of Now the one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to probably cut this out just a tad deeper. Alright, but that's how you do the feet. Alright, so one other thing you want to do is we started to cut underneath. Now this here looks pretty deep, so we're going to go a little deeper here, and we're going to cut that out just a tad more, and we'll redefine those lines. Sometimes you'll end up doing that. You think you're done cutting it, and you'll look at it and say, oh, something just doesn't look right. You know, then go back and fix it. That's alright. The whole part of carving is to go back and adjust things. There's nothing wrong with that. Alright, so excuse me just a moment here, folks. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do here is this, where the butt is in the back here, and where it's supposed to be leaning, kneeling. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to round these off a little bit here, okay? And we're going to round this off a little bit here. And we're going to take this up a little further underneath. This is where the depth really comes into play when you start doing this. When you start doing the folds in these, you know, it's going to be your interpretation of how deep it will have to go. This will have to come out further. Alright, I'll be right back, folks.